So welcome everyone. Welcome especially to the people who have joined us through the webinar function and Eventbrite invitation, and to those of you out there on Facebook Live who are watching this particular stream. Huge thank you to Dav from the marketing team, who will be the host from the most, who will be running the Facebook Live for us. Just to let you know that there will be a question and answer function throughout, and please, somewhere down below, you'll see the question and answer button. We'll look to answer those questions throughout if we can. So put your marketing questions to our kind of panelists, but we'll have some time towards the end, 10 or 15 minutes to go through some of those questions, especially the marketing specific ones. This is where I plug something, and it's not shameless because it's very important, but just to let you know, we do have an open day this Saturday. It's virtual, like everything else, but we'd obviously love to have you back physically with us, but we'll have a virtual open day this Saturday on the 7th of November, and we'll give you more information about that later. But that will be another chance for you to meet ambassadors, meet academics, hear about university life, hear about all of our programs, and get the chance to answer more questions either in the webinar or instant messaging function that we do have. So let's get started. So warm welcome to the School of Management webinar series. So this is an online discussion centered on the marketing industry, potential career options, and information about our marketing program here at Swansea. So an introduction to the panel. My name's James, definitely least. I'm the recruitment officer in the School of Management. And just to introduce two of our panelists who are far more important than me today to bring their insight. And Beth, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Beth Cummins, and I'm the Programme Director for the BSc Marketing at the School of Management in Swansea.
Fantastic. And I would say just as important, or even more importantly, we have Molly with us. Molly, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, my name's Molly. I'm the student ambassador for the marketing programme, and I'm also a second year marketing student.
Thank you very much. So Beth and Molly, it's lovely to have you here to share your insight with our guests today. So right, let's begin. So rhetorical question, no need for you to answer, to put anything in the Q&A at the moment, but what do these organisations have in common? On the face of it, nothing. All produce different goods and services, yet all will provide a marketing function to sell their product or deliver their message, from some of the large multinational companies that really kind of stand out visually for you there, to more local ones on this slide that you won't be that familiar with, but they do exist because some of our students have done marketing placements within them. So this is just a bit of overall picture of the marketing industry. So some figures to shock. The advertising spend in the UK for 2019, the last figure we can get, was £25 billion. That is the fourth largest in the world. Answers on a postcard later about the top three. Perhaps we'll test you with that, but that's the fourth largest in the world. So to give you some kind of perspective, and we are in Wales, so we'll give you some Welsh figures. The Welsh Assembly Government's day-to-day spend to run our country was 12.8 billion. So the advertising spend is nearly double the amount of money it takes to run Wales. So, Beth, we hear the saying, controversial, but everyone is a marketeer. Is that true? And can you just take us through a couple of these organisations and some of the marketing campaigns they've run this year?
Yeah, well, actually, James, everybody is a marketer. If you think about, how we come into contact with these organisations, first people that we see, how they presented to us, we can recognise the majority of these brands here on the slide. Public Health England is a really interesting one because of the spend over the last couple of months and the types of campaigns that we've seen by the government, because of the pandemic. So, that idea that who'd have thought, sort of 12 months ago that we would have needed a marketing campaign to tell us to wash our hands, stay 2 meters apart here in Wales or a meter in England, and to wear masks and work from home. So those type of campaigns that the government have used, particularly from a psychology perspective, in terms of changing our behaviour, getting us to behave in a certain way because of the impact of something like a pandemic, has been really interesting. And it's something, we've all seen and we've all been part of, and the different types of channels that they've used, right from here in Wales, we've seen, the roadside signs being used in terms of, where we can travel, what the restrictions are in relation to lockdown, right the way through to sort of social media being used by the government in these type of campaigns. So we don't usually expect, or we don't usually see the government as using marketing communications in that way, but they tend to do, a lot of that. And I think you gave me the figure about how much they spent over the last couple of months, something around sort of 40 odd million in that short period of time, and becoming one of the biggest spenders for advertising during the lockdown, as everybody else is decreasing because of the impact of lockdown. And, people like Unilever, loads of different brands under Unilever, and, brands like, for example, Dove, and the way that they are using their platforms and their communications to really sort of promote more ethical campaigns and have sort of a social impact. So they've started to promote the idea about sort of equality and beauty. And we've seen that, how they perceive themselves having a responsibility then to the local or to the communities in which they engage with, and using that to, yes, of course, promote their products and link their products to that, but also in relation to thinking about how they can raise self-esteem in the beauty industry. So, we as consumers expect a lot from our brands, and that's probably the majority of the way that we see the level of engagement with marketing is from a consumer perspective. But, we'll talk about it in more detail. Marketing is a lot more than that. And I think the government campaigns really demonstrate that, because they're not selling anything as such. They're just trying to get us to behave in a certain way, rightly or wrongly.
Yeah. And with a 5,000% increase in budget, I think a lot of people wouldn't mind that increase in budget at the moment, would they? But thanks very much for that, Beth. That's really insightful. Just to move on. So this is just a bit of an overview for everyone of our BSc Marketing Year 1 programme. So Beth, can you talk us through the first year of the marketing programme and what our potential new students will be studying?
Yeah, so our marketing programme fits within our business offering, and it's really important, regardless of what discipline you're going into or what subject area that you're interested in, is that we have an understanding of the whole business. So you started off asking me, are we all marketers? Obviously, being a marketer, then I'm a bit biased, but yes, because marketing is a really important function within an organisation. But it also interacts and links with other elements of the organisation. So, from a marketing perspective, we need to understand, what's happening from a finance perspective, and we definitely have to justify our budgets and our spend, and have an understanding of the financial aspects. And equally, how we perhaps manage our marketing teams. So from a managing people perspective, understanding, what that means, and understanding the sort of HR elements of that. So all of these modules that we have in our first year, it's a common first year, are really about building those skills and providing those foundations for that understanding going into the workplace before we start to specialise in year 2 and year 3. So there is a marketing module on there. And as I said, we do put it into context in relation to the importance of your specific discipline area within our lectures and seminars as well.
That's fantastic. So, just to give an extra bit of insight there, so that we to have those kind of flexibilities within the programme as well. So that common first year, those underpinning facets. So as we well know, Beth, we're going to be students for a number of years. We'd love them to stay on the marketing programme, but sometimes students feel they have different strengths in areas, and perhaps at such a young age, it's hard to understand what you do need or want. So if you do the common first year with us, there's a potential then to move on to one of our other business management specialisms. So that's obviously key and quite interesting for our students.
Definitely. And I think, that is, as you say, it's really important that students are comfortable in the program and, understand, what's involved from that. And sometimes we do get people who change, and we do offer a business management and a marketing pathway for those students who perhaps want more of a broader approach as well. But the BSc marketing is really specialised for those people who want to go into a marketing role, and it's been developed for that purpose.
That sounds great. And just to let our viewers know then, now all our programs, regardless of whether they're business management focused or marketing here that we're looking at, whether that would be accounting and finance and economics or other disciplines within the School of Management, all have a year in industry and a study abroad available and built into a School of Management programs. And we'll kind of talk about that later and how important that is. Thank you very much for that, Beth. Moving on. So fantastically, all our students out there, brilliantly, you've passed the first year with flying colours. The world is back to normal. You've been to Magaluf, you've had a great time, and now we're coming back in September and October. So Beth, these are some of the modules our students will be studying at year 2 and 3 along those kind of specialist lines. So what skills are you hoping to develop from our course for our students?
Yeah, as I said, it's really important that when we were developing the program that we bring in, industry perspective, and we do make sure that, a lot of our assessments are authentic assessments, the types of things that people will be doing when they are working in industry. And, our academics have industry experience, lots of us work in consultancy, and that sort of filters through then these type of modules that we offer and the type of skills that we, will develop in our students. So, employability skills are really important, and they're embedded through all the modules. But again, we appreciate, students want a broad perspective on marketing, as well as understanding some of the particular areas. So for example, digital marketing, can't fail to be part of the digital environment in marketing, regardless of what role that you will go into. And equally, things like strategic marketing planning in year 2 are important, as well as understanding that, as I said, the psychology aspects of it from a consumer behavior perspective. So, the way that we've built the program is really to provide what we call a sort of scaffold approach to it, and so that the broad brush approach in year 1, then starting to specialise more in year 2 before we move on to year 3, where you really start to hone those skills, ready to go into either further study through our MSc programs or into employment. And so, something like, for example, the option to undertake a dissertation, which is a, specialist piece of research in year 3, which is a great opportunity to really develop those research skills, and particularly in an area where you have a particular interest, or undertake the final year project. And the final year project is really a practical project whereby, you have an external provider. It's very authentic because it is an actual project. You work as a team to deliver the requirements of that final year project. And I'm just working with my teams at the moment, and it's up to them. It's the exact type of thing you would be doing in a consultancy role if you went into industry. So, as I say, it's really important that we start to develop those skills, as well as starting for people to, by that point, understand perhaps the areas that they want to go into. So app development is a really popular module. We've got a great lecturer who delivers that. And he's made it very practical, and the type of things that you would be doing if you were working, sort of in web development, app development, and the digital marketing aspect. So yeah, it is very functional, and very industry led as well.
One thing that kind of jumps out for me as a non-marketer, Beth, is kind of consumer behaviour. And I've always wondered, does this look into it well? I go to Lidl and I'll be shopping around in my trolley. I'll get to the middle aisle, and just before I know it, I bought a roof rack for a Skoda, and I've got a dog basket, even though I've got a dog. And then when I get to the checkout, I brought 35 bottles of breath mints. Is that the kind of stuff we look at? Why do we actually do these things?
That's a cynical approach to marketing there, James, definitely. I mean, it is exactly those type of things, you know, in that we're not rational as humans. And, you know, the reason why we sort of purchase different products, what, you know, sort of interests us, but understanding really the process that we go through from a consumer behavior perspective. And so, you know, those of us who are interested in the psychology, interested in, you know, in terms of human behavior, and like I say, you know, going back to the government campaigns now, the way that we can use marketing to nudge or change behaviour, we see that in the likes of campaigns around, you know, stop smoking or drink awareness campaigns, those type of things, to change behaviour and understand, you know, what it is that's going to get us to change. Really interesting. If anybody's seen The Social Dilemma on Netflix, definitely check that out because it's certainly an eye-opener. And again, you know, in terms of that sort of subconscious way that we can influence people's behaviour through some of the marketing activities.
I definitely need to join that module. So this is kind of a re-app time now to bring Molly in. So Molly, some of our students out there now are potential students at that point in their life where you were kind of a year or 2 years ago. So big question. So why did you choose marketing? How did you go about making that decision?
Well, it's kind of not a fluke, but in year 10, when we did work experience, I did work experience with my mum's friend who worked in marketing, and I found it really interesting and then didn't really think about it until after that week. And then went on and did my A-levels. One of my A-levels was English language. I was really interested in it. Went to a couple of institutions to look at English courses, and I just knew that it wasn't really for me. And in the back of my mind, I still had marketing, that work experience that I did in year 10. I thought, actually, that was really interesting. You know, I can see myself doing a job in marketing in the future. So went to a few open days like Swansea with the marketing program, and I just knew that it was right for me. It had modules that interested me, like the digital marketing, social media, app development, you know, all really relevant and employable skills that will really help me in the future.
Fantastic. So you've been through some of these modules now, so you've undertaken the common first year and done a marketing module there. So you're halfway through semester 1 in the second year. So what have been your kind of standout modules so far, and what do you think you kind of learned from them?
Definitely digital marketing I find really interesting. You know, one of my lecturers said today, should we just call it marketing, not even digital marketing, you know, because many companies have got such a big focus on digital marketing and how you can target different groups of people differently. Like, for example, the older generation would tend to use Facebook, whereas someone in my generation would tend to use something like Instagram or TikTok. And also another module which I'm doing this semester is tourism marketing. I chose it in the middle of the pandemic, you know, great time to choose a tourism module. But, you know, that's how we're going to get out of this, you know, in the future when you want to go on holiday. There's going to have to be someone marketing that destination for you, you know, the hotel, the transport. There's so many different areas you can go into with it. I just thought it sounded really interesting, and it is a really interesting module.
That's fantastic. I thought you were going to plug our tourism program as well then, Molly. 2 birds, 1 stone on a webinar. Well done. Obviously now you're potentially, when you move into kind of semester 2, looking at those modules for year 3. So are there any kind of leap out the page here, any kind of ones that you're particularly interested in?
Definitely the app development. That sounds really interesting. I know one of my lecturers at the moment also teaches that module, so he's very enthusiastic about the subject. And he's got experience with doing that, and that's really, I'm sure you're going to say that loads of lecturers have industry experience, which is really, you need to have industry experience to understand how marketing works. So it's really useful having them bring their knowledge to the lectures, and it really enriches, you know, what they're saying.
Fantastic. So all our kind of viewers out there, so when Molly does develop her app and you see her on the App Store, please do us a favour and actually purchase it for her. So I think she'd be really pleased about that. So thanks, Molly. So next, and this is the slide that people really don't pretend is of interest to them, but it's all to do with money and opportunity. So Beth, a question we get asked a lot, and this is not just around marketing, it's around most of our programs. So what type of roles are available in marketing? Are there many different types? And how much would they pay?
Yeah, so this was some research done by Marketing Week, and really does indicate different levels and the types of roles that you can go into. I think what's really important to get across in marketing is that there's loads of opportunities and lots of different varied roles as well. If you look at the university, and our marketing teams, the type of different roles that we have, in our central marketing team, we've got people who work on market intelligence and insights, understanding exactly that consumer behavior in relation to, sort of the customer journey, right the way from, the way that people engage with us at open days, right the way through to actually deciding they want to come and study with us. So, you can be quite broad in your approach when you look at some of these roles here. For example, marketing execs, or marketing managers, working with agencies to pull all those type of activities together, or you can work agency side, focusing on campaigns, developing campaigns, lots of roles. As Molly said, in relation to digital marketing, should we call it digital marketing, but type of more specific sort of niche roles around SEO and web development, and really understanding that type of digital activity. But insights is a really important. Big data, big area at the moment, and how we're utilizing those. So lots of opportunities from a marketing perspective, and not too bad in the salary department either.
Yeah, I think there's a few people in the marketing department, if they're watching Twitching now, when they actually see those wages out there. So latest study from 2018, Beth, there was 415,000 roles in the marketing area in the UK, possibly taking a bit of a hit this year, but do you think that will kind of rebound in the future?
Yeah, I don't know whether, we'll see what the research is showing. I mean, from my contacts who are in the industry, there's been some really positives, particularly those people who are working online, seeing those type of campaigns. We have, obviously seen advertising spend drop, but, that's one area of the marketing activity. And it depends on sectors and industries, as Molly said, tourism, hospitality, really obviously taking a hit at the moment. But what we do find, and as Molly said, people like, for example, Visit Wales are continuing to market the destination, even when, people can't travel in, or we couldn't travel around, because once, obviously those restrictions are lifted, then they want to keep that awareness out there. So, marketing tends to be one of those areas where, people do tend to try and cut back, but those companies who are more successful or ride out recessions tend to be those who invest in their marketing activity. So at the moment, it's a difficult one to say, and we'll see, what comes out, because this is a really, difficult time, and we haven't seen anything like this. But what I definitely say to my students now is to think about how they can start developing themselves. There's loads of opportunities around, sort of thinking about the types of roles you want to go into, and to continue to, do any sort of self-development and opportunities like we do as well. We have to continue, as Molly said, to keep up to speed in terms of the industry and understanding, sort of the way, the direction things are changing. Digital is a really good example of that, because we've seen a shift. If I look back to when I started in marketing, the types of activities that I was doing, I'm not that old, but things like, stuffing envelopes and going to the franking machine with the,
No comment there.
But I mean, that's unheard of now. Everything is digital communications, and even that shift, you just have to adapt and sort of move with the time. So yes, it is tough, but there are lots of opportunities in marketing, and really, sort of sectors and certain roles are really seeing a sort of, an increase in demand for those.
And when some of our potential students here in Mali looking to graduate, that's still 2 or 3 years down the line, a really buoyant industry where the world can look a bit different. So Molly, I'm sure, is going to shoot for board of directors in about 3 years' time. As you've seen that figure. Just for some of our viewers out there, just to let you know, if you want to just pop any kind of questions into the question and answer box for Molly and Beth, we'll look to pick those up later. So please do. Right, this is just a quick infographic for our viewers out there, which just outlines recent work placements in marketing our students have undertaken. So on the left-hand side here, so some real multinational companies will jump out at you with really prominent logos there. So some of our students have undertaken a year placement between their 3rd and 4th year. So companies such as BMW, Bosch, Panasonic. Mitchell and Butlers you may not have heard of because you're at that age, but when you get to 18, trust me, you'll be going to Mitchell and Butlers establishments quite often, I imagine. So that's a really popular one. And on the right-hand side there, some of the recent graduate employment destinations of some of our recent graduates. So you'll see the employees at the bottom and the roles they've undertaken on the top, which kind of really stands out to me is when our students graduate at such a young age as well, some kind of managerial roles they go into straight away, which kind of attests to kind of the skill set that they develop here. So Molly, have you thought about where your degree is going to take you and after you finish your studies?
Oh, that's a good question, big question.
Sorry.
Like Beth said, digital marketing is where it's really at and where companies are focusing their marketing teams on. So yeah, definitely something to do with digital marketing, social media marketing. Yeah, something in that industry would be where I'd be looking for a job, hopefully.
So have you done any kind of preparation at the moment for that? Have you taken any kind of work placements or any industry prep? Is anything that you've done at the moment?
Yeah, so during the lockdown earlier in the year, I was back at home and I saw an advert for a marketing intern at a startup company. They sell home gym equipment, so like dumbbells, barbells, things that people can train with at home during the lockdown. And they've seen a massive increase in sales and they just needed an intern to help them, get through social media, emails, customer queries. So I did that for a few months and that was really, really interesting, really insightful into the runnings, like the day-to-day runnings of a small business, as well as helping them out with the marketing. And that really helped me, it's building my CV for my year in industry. I'm with placements at the moment, which is quite a competitive field and quite a challenge. But, I feel like little things like that can help you have the edge over another candidate. And the skills that I gained from the employability module, which I took, really helped me to get that internship and will hopefully help me to get another internship for next year.
Fantastic. You packed a lot in at such a young age. So Molly, have you had any kind of exposure, kind of, real life experience of kind of applying those theoretical skills at the moment, part of a society or?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm the branding and marketing manager for the Swansea Women in Business Society. And as part of that, we're given a budget from the School of Management to spend on events and to help our members. So, for example, we're currently working on a programme whereas we help our members. So if they're self-isolating, we can reach out to them, make sure they've got everything they need. And it's a really useful skill to have because we're budgeting and we're making sure that we don't spend all of our money in semester one and have nothing for semester two. So that's a really real life insight into, how marketing teams can spend their budget and how to manage the budget.
I'm glad you didn't say how much it was, Molly, because I've heard on the grapevine it's really large budget. So better not say anything online there, but that sounds fantastic. So moving on. So Beth, people talk about accreditation, our degree programs accredited. What does that mean in practice? To who and why is that important at all?
Yeah, and that's a really good question, actually. When you're thinking about going to study a degree program and, it seems so far off thinking about your sort of professional life. But our degree programs are accredited with the Chartered Institute of Marketing, which are our professional body. And I'm part of the Chartered Institute of Marketing. I've been a chartered marketer for a good number of years now. And for me, it's really important in terms of a community and being part of that sort of wider community. And that's why we accredit our programs, because we want our students to have that level of experience. And moving into your professional qualifications, as you said before, about sort of continuing to develop yourself, and that continuous professional development is really important throughout all our careers. So what we see here is that we are part of the graduate gateway. So all our undergraduate and postgraduate marketing programs are part of the graduate gateway scheme. And that means that students studying on those programs, once they complete their degree, they get exemptions from the CIM professional qualifications. So that's that's a really good sort of selling point in terms of thinking, right, you've completed that, you want to do professional qualifications, you don't have to do so many of the modules, you get some exemptions from that, depending on which level that you want to study. And because of the success of that, we've just become a accredited study centre. And again, that offers students the opportunity then to continue those professional qualifications with us in Swansea University. So that's really important. And as somebody who's worked in industry and has been part of the Chartered Institute of Marketing, to have that is really beneficial. It's been beneficial in my roles, and I still I'm part of the regional board for Wales with the CIM, so I still do all that sort of networking and that sort of more industry based, which hopefully as Molly's seen, because I'm continually going on about it to her, the access that you get as a student then to that professional body. And it's part of our offering throughout the 3 years. And so by the time you're ready then to sort of really take that sort of professional step, then you're part of this network already. And I just put Springboard up there because that's a career network for, I think, 16 to 24-year-olds. And it's an app where you can download, and the CIM offer mentors through the app in terms of people having questions or want to chat with somebody regarding marketing, what it's involved, what type of opportunities there are. So yeah, you can check that out as well.
Brilliant. It certainly has shifted over the last 10 years. There's so much information and support out there for students, isn't there, to kind of make those decisions. So it's really, from industry bodies as well. So that's really great. Right, Molly, what do you think about accreditation? What are your feelings about that? Has it been pushed onto you yet?
Yeah, it's been mentioned a few times. Yeah, no, definitely it's something I'm interested in. It's such a great bank of resources available with the CIM, and like I said, it's such a competitive market going into jobs, especially at the moment. An employer might look at 2 identical CVs and one potential candidate might have be accredited with the CIM, and they might think, they're really clearly interested in their studies and they're interested in marketing beyond a career. So, they might be the one that just have the edge over the job.
Well, I can kind of reinforce that as a non-marketer myself. Beth runs something, the CIM, or TikTok, nearly 2 years ago now. And unbelievably, I knew what TikTok was before ASOS. So it just shows what kind of reach the CIM have for a Luddite like me. So that was actually really good. Moving on next. So just to remind people that we have some questions and answers for our panel, and keep on putting them in there. We've actually had a few come through, which is really nice, so we can actually ask you. And the first one is from Bill, and we'll answer this live at the moment. This is maybe for you, Beth. I like marketing itself, but don't know what I want to do yet for work experience, let alone careers. Is that a problem?
No, not at all. And I think, that's really the beauty of undertaking a marketing degree, the opportunities that arise from it, and the opportunities for those transferable skills as well. We started off talking about, obviously, this is a specialist program for those people who want to go into a marketing role. But as I said, there's so many wide and varied roles, perhaps that, people perceive, in terms of the comms or the advertising. But like I said, those types of roles in terms of insights, data, more perhaps the psychology side of understanding customer journeys. There's lots of opportunities for that. But, those transferable skills are really important. So, if I look at my own background, I've been in roles in business development, sales, tourism marketing, different, sort of aspects or, different sort of skill sets needed than sort of just perhaps that, sort of what I perceive as a pure marketing role, or what we might perceive as that. So definitely not. And you've got an opportunity to, think about, what interests you and the type of job that you want to go into. But lots of opportunities there.
Fantastic. And just a reminder for some of the people out there on Facebook Live, you can throw a few questions at us as well, and they'll kind of filter through. So hi all. I spoke to James via email a few weeks ago. Oh, interesting. I hope this is a good one. About the creative elements and media suite within the course. Would you be able to go into more detail? Great webinar so far too.
Oh.
Signed, that wasn't signed mum, but
Yeah.
that's pretty well done.
Sorry, what was it? What was the question?
Yeah, just about the creator elements and the media suite within the course. Would you be able to go into more detail about the media suite and any kind of creative elements in our course?
So yeah, we do. I mean, it's really important that, as I said, in terms of our assessments, we try and keep those authentic. This program is very much about that sort of broad, sort of approach to the elements of marketing, and so the assessments are developed around that, really, in terms of perhaps sort of strategic planning, developing comms campaigns and those type of activities. Outside of that, though, there are those opportunities then to undertake more sort of specialist stuff, that we would use in relation to perhaps media suites and creativity, the type of things that we might, the event that you were talking about, getting a central marketing team down to sort of deliver that practical element. So there's lots of those type of extracurricular activities around those as well. But I think what is really important is that you can engage with lots of different opportunities. And certainly through our employability team, finding those different sort of placements, internships, that will then obviously, be able to put into practice the things that you're learning as part of the programme.
Thanks for that great question, Matthew. It was really good. Next one is for Molly from an anonymous attendee. Hi, Molly. What's it like studying at the moment during COVID? And do you have any advice for staying motivated? So a really, really apt question at this time.
Yeah, definitely. Hello again. So what's it like studying? Obviously, it's different to last year. You're not in uni for your lectures and seminars. So Swansea's doing a blended approach. So some seminars and labs are being held in person on campus with social distancing, face coverings, all that jazz. And do you have any advice on staying motivated? I'd definitely say break up your day, like write out when you're gonna do your lectures and seminars, your reading, and leave time for breaks. I think when there's no split between the work environment and the home environment, it can get really challenging. So definitely, go out for walks if you can, do something else that isn't your lectures and seminars. But equally, don't get too distracted. I know my phone is my worst enemy. So I physically put it in a drawer so I can't see it. I can't see all the notifications coming through. So I won't distract myself. But yeah, that's how I'd say stay motivated.
Fantastic. Thanks for that, Molly. Another question just come in, and it's for Molly. So two-parter. Probably I'll take the first one. Entry requirements for maths as a C grade. What is that equivalent to in terms of the 9-to-1 grading system? And I believe that is a 4. But this is a really apt question, part 2 for you, Molly. How intense is the accounting and finance modules in the first year? So this normally comes up a lot of the time from people who wouldn't assume that for people with a marketing course, you would be studying those type of things.
Yeah, definitely. If I've read the question correctly, I might get a gauge that you might be a little bit anxious with the maths, and I am 100% in the same boat as you if you are. I don't really like maths that much, and I've never really got on with it that well. But in the first year, I actually did pretty well in the accounting and finance modules, better than I thought I would. I think as long as you attend the lectures, you attend the seminars, the lecturers are aware of the fact that there'll be a different level of abilities going on to the course. So whether you've done GCSE or if you've done A-level as well. So it is explained in a way that is understandable for everyone. And yeah, just don't worry, there are people out there to support you. You can drop in with your lecturer on Zoom if there's a question that you didn't quite understand in the lecture. There's so much support available, and you just got to make use of it, I'd say.
Fantastic. Next question, Beth, it may be for you, and I'll jump in at one point as well from Umar. I want to start a marketing agency after sixth form. So
wow.
He's gone straight for his own business. Any ideas or tips? And I guess if he comes to Swansea, is anything we can help him with?
Yeah, well, that's amazing, and sort of having that sort of motivation and that type of drive is exactly the type of person you need in marketing. I think it is important to understand the fundamentals of marketing, because we've talked about things that change and everything, and they are your basic They are, you know, where your starting point is, and everything else you start to develop over the time that you're working, you know, is, you know, sort of added to that really, but you really do need that sort of fundamentals, and that's really what the programs give you. From you know, from an education perspective, then we have an amazing employability team within the School of Management. So to be able then to sort of match those motivations for starting your own business alongside getting that level of understanding, you know, you will definitely have those opportunities. And I think, you know, starting your own business and starting off straight away is great. We've got some of our students who've graduated last year, and they're part of our final year project now. They started out on their own, and they're giving our students, our final year students, opportunities like they had. And it's nice to see them taking that learning and starting applying it in the workplace. So I think, you know, the tips would be definitely, you know, sort of harness that motivation, keep it going, because it is fantastic, but it is really important to, you know, sort of develop your understanding of marketing, because, you know, when you're going out and doing any consultancy or any agency work, then you are going into other organizations, and you need to be able to, you know, have credible, you know, sort of understanding of the processes as well.
Fantastic. And kind of just to add from that, from kind of school management perspective, on some of our pathways and some optional modules, we do have like entrepreneurship modules where we support you through that. And also we have, you know, central functions within the university that help startups, and we'll have some kind of notable examples of those on our School of Management website if you want to have a quick look at some of our current students who run their business, and we do have those functions in place. So thanks very much for that, Beth. Hi everyone. Are there guest lectures from local marketing companies or graduates? That's from Anonymous. So Beth.
Yes, and even, you know, in the current times, and we've, you know, sort of managed to keep all of that going. We do think it is really important. And, you know, to be able to give a variety of, you know, experience and understanding, and put things into context, and, you know, sort of provide that sort of what does it look like in the real world perspective as well. So there's definitely guest lectures, there's opportunities to network and, you know, speak to those people as well. And, you know, those are the opportunities then when, you know, we come to look at internships, placements, you know, you've got points of contact. So we definitely encourage all of that. And again, you know, our employability team are amazing, as well as bringing some of those opportunities on board for all of us.
Fantastic. So next question, this again from anonymous attendee. A bit concerned that they haven't done business before. And, you know, will they particularly struggle from a recruitment perspective? Obviously, we don't ask for business as one of our A levels. Molly, did you do a business A level?
No, I didn't. No.
Oh, very apt for you then.
Yeah, exactly. So I did English language, media studies, and geography. So they all kind of tie into marketing in ways that you wouldn't necessarily think. So no, you won't struggle if you haven't had any business experience before. I had virtually nothing, and, you know, I wouldn't say I'm struggling compared to people who have had business, GCSEs and A-levels. So no, don't worry about it.
Yeah, and please don't concern yourself with that. You know, a lot of our students come through without that kind of business background, whether it's BTEC or whether they're taking it as an A level, and that kind of common first years underpinning facets. You know, we deliver out those to get everyone up to that necessary level. So please don't concern yourself with that one.
But just jump in there.
Sorry, Beth. Yeah, of course.
I was just going to say that, you know, actually, you know, again, that is the beauty of the business environment and, you know, and marketing, in that, you know, there's lots of different skills that we do sort of pull on. So, you know, where Molly was talking about sort of media, they, you know, those aspects will bring in some understanding, some knowledge of that particular area. And our common first year is about teasing that out, and, you know, sort of about, you know, obviously, as you said, about getting people up to a certain level of understanding of what's required in the different disciplines and functions of a business. So, you know, the having, you know, sort of no sort of previous experience of it, you'd be really surprised at the knowledge and experience you have. It's just putting that into context in terms of the sort of academic side of it, really.
Right, only a couple of minutes to go, but the questions are flying in. Please, sorry if we don't get through them all, but may have to go to 30 seconds each now. But how can students receive an offer from Swansea? I guess I'll answer this one. Apply, apply, apply. You can do that now via your sixth form, so obviously make us one of your choices. And you can do that via your local sixth form or your local FE college, and obviously we'll come back with a decision. So ABB to BBB is a general guideline of our offers to students, but please, if you want any more information from that, get in touch with us in the recruitment department. We'll be more than happy to go through that with you. So please apply is probably the answer there. Right, question from Kath to Molly quickly. Sorry, we've got so many here. Molly, did you find it hard to settle into your second year with coronavirus? Any tips?
I would say it's definitely a different adjustment to first year. I wouldn't say I struggled. You know, I'm not too far away from home. I'm originally from Bristol, so, you know, not too far, even though I haven't been back yet. Any tips? You know, just keep in contact with your friends and family, you know, even if it's just a quick message to say, hi, how you doing? Like, you know, it can really make someone's day, you know, just checking in on their mental health. You know, everyone's going through it at the moment. No one really knows what's going to happen, when we're going to get out of it. So yeah, just keep in contact with friends and family and keep on top of your work.
Fantastic. And from a university perspective, you know, we still run lots of events in a social distance way. We have, you know, fantastic support teams in place as well to support you with any particular issues that you have. Right, this is from Bill. This is probably for you, Beth. I will answer this one live. What is a dissertation like, and do you have to do it?
Okay, well, the dissertation is a great piece of research, and I am a big fan of the dissertation because I think, you know, it is an opportunity to explore something in a bit more detail and take those sort of research skills and, you know, particularly if you're thinking about going on perhaps to further your studies. Having said that, you don't have to do it because you can choose the option to do final year project. And I'm also a big fan of final year project because it is the practical elements of, you know, it's exactly in having that experience about working on a project, working with a team and delivering something as you would do when you go into the work environment. So, you know, either or are really good skills to develop. And it just depends on individuals, really. That's what I found with the marketing program. That's why we offer the both. Is because it depends on, you know, whether or not you want to work more sort of individually on that sort of in-depth understand of a particular topic area, or whether or not you want to get that experience as part of the project. Sometimes we find that students who've undertaken a placement or internship already have that experience and like to do then the dissertation to, you know, sort of supplement those sort of research skills alongside that.
Brilliant. So, right, we'll have to rack up with the next couple of questions because we're running slightly over.
I know you're making me talk very quickly.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, Beth, and I do apologise. Anonymous attendee, coming back to you, Beth, sorry. I think we've probably kind of gone over it in the skill set that, you know, is extremely generic and transferable, but I'm torn between business management, international tourism and marketing. So three of the programs that we have within our portfolio here. Would I be able to approach a safe career path with either one of those degrees?
Yeah, I think, again, you know, the more specialist programs in relation to the international tourism, or whether or not, you know, it's the BSc marketing, you are specialising and your chosen modules or the module options that you have then will be more specialised. But again, you know, we, you know, in our sort of department, we're very much about the practical skills and the transferable skills. And so, you know, I wouldn't like to say to you that you won't be able to go into the roles you want to. But I think the issue is, I'm speaking to a student, you know, who's thinking of specialising in marketing. It's about if you want to go into those roles, then you're better off going down that route because it does give you that degree title, and, you know, in a competitive marketplace, it demonstrates your interest in that particular area. That's not to say that you couldn't transfer into different roles.
Fantastic. Right, two final questions, one each. We'll probably put a timer on the clock here, if that's all right. Molly, we'll probably go to you with this one, and I'll probably chip in a tiny bit there. In this course, are there lots of exams from anonymous attendee? Exams, the dreaded exams.
Exams, yes. There's obviously a few exams. It really depends on the module. So there's a variety of assessment methods. It can be a mix of coursework and exams, just coursework, group work, presentations. So there is such a large variety of assessment methods, and it's not just exams. I'd say the volume of exams depends on the modules you take, but you can have a look in the module descriptions when you're choosing your optional modules. So if you really don't like exams, you can choose to avoid an exam if you want to.
That's fantastic. Really concise answer. Could have done better. And of course, if we do have exams, which, you know, they may be unavoidable in some of our compulsory modules, you know, we have support systems in place where you can actually get support with exam technique, and that can be built into your program as well. So please don't let that concern you. Last question. So sorry about some of the other questions that we've got in at the moment, but we can redirect you to another shameless plug that we got later. So how many people are on the marketing course, Beth?
Okay, so we have at the moment in our first year we've got about 25, I think, in the first year, and you know, as a specialist program, then it tends to be smaller than the pathway. So on the pathway, we've got lots of students. There's about 60 odd of those who are undertaking the marketing pathway. That being said, the BSc Marketing is a relatively new program for us. And so it is growing year on year as people want to take on those sort of specialist roles. Is that concise enough?
No, that's absolutely fantastic. We do appreciate that. And I just want to thank everyone for all the questions that they put in, and obviously those viewers joining us on Facebook Live and the webinar itself. Right, this is to discuss our upcoming virtual open day, which incidentally is this Saturday, the 7th of November. So lots of things going on. Student-led campus tours, they will be virtual. We'd obviously like to have them back in person one day soon, hopefully. Parent and guardian Q&A, live chat. So please, if we haven't answered your question here today, there's the opportunity to have that answered on Saturday. So we will have an instant message function, and regardless of what the question would be, course specific, university life, we can answer it. We'll also have School of Management session, a specific session for an hour and a half, and I believe Beth will be joining us for that to give us some great insights. Also, Unibuddy function here, and Molly's a part of our student ambassador team, so go straight to the people that count the most, and you can ask them questions there. Most important thing at the moment, stay in touch with us. Some recruitment at Swansea, any questions you need answering specifically. It is that time to apply. So we'd love you to apply to Swansea University, and hopefully you've got some really insight and engagement of what we actually deliver here. So I want to thank everyone for joining us on Facebook Live and the webinar itself. And more importantly, I'd like to thank Beth and Molly for all the great insight. We really appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye.